It's like 110 outside, and Jarvis's apartment wasn't habitable.
Barely, yes. It's insane out here. So don't ever live in South Texas in the summer, or in the we're gonna pass this off because we've only got one mic here. So but don't ever live in South Texas or Arizona or any of the southern states in the summer because it's insane. Triple digits like for the past 2 months, which is nuts. But anyways, speaking of nuts, we're sharing one microphone today. So that should make for an interesting dynamic. And we've also got an incredible movie to talk about today. What movie are we talking about today, brother?
Barbie.
Barbie on Full-Time Movie Fans. Obviously, I'm your host, Jarvis. Just call me Jarvis. And then we have Michael. And I'll let you. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just call me Michael.
Just call him Michael. Don't worry about his last name. You don't need to know. Don't Google him. Don't find him on Instagram. Don't Snapchat him. Don't TikTok him.
Don't show up to Heroes Hideout.
just hang out with us on here. Yeah, he's plugging a card hobby shop that he co-owns. It's a great place to be. But anyways, we're talking about Barbie. How crazy is that? Yeah. Did you ever think this was going to be in your future when you were a young boy?
Yeah, just what everybody needs, right, is just two dudes talking about a movie about women. Anyways, we've been full-time movie fans. We'll see y'all next time.
We've been full-time movie fans since day one when we were born. Just came out the womb, loving movies, and never looked back. And it's brought us here. Again, so now this one, I mean, this movie's been doing insane numbers. Like that, it's been making so much, I think. But this is one of those movies that it's making insane numbers because it's just a good movie, and there's no two ways about it. This one, I don't know. Let's start off with. Do you have some facts or things about the director and some of the cast? I think I saw Michael Cera. I was watching a YouTube video this morning. He was talking about some of the roles that he's been in, and the Barbie one. He was like, I guess his agent was like, "Yeah, they contact you. We're not sure if you'd be interested." He was like, "Call him back. Tell him I'm absolutely want to do that." Which his character was. I thought his character was great in there. Alan's great.
Yeah, I've got lots of facts and lots of opinions. I'll give you both at the same time. So, Greta Gerwigs, a phenomenal director. I went into this movie going, I'm not going to go see a Barbie movie. I'm going to go see a Greta Gerwig movie because she's just so good at what she does, and I love her to death. And she is up there in probably like my top 5 favorite directors ever. She's just so good. And I think that I had a lot more context going into the movie of what it was going to be about because of that. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I do love Greta Gerwig movies so much. First Greta Gerwig movie I ever saw was Lady Bird, and I saw it 3 times in theater, and I brought my uncle one time. My uncle...
Only 3?
Only 3. Yeah, my uncle's one of those guys who's like, nah, I only like Transformer movies and Michael Bay movies. And he came out of that one. Yes, yeah, and The Expendables. And he came out of Lady Bird, and he was like, I can't believe that. It's such a phenomenal movie. I never thought that I could like relate to like a teenage girl. And I went, yeah, that's kind of like how movies work, man. You learn some perspective on other people. It's crazy, isn't it? So that's been my thing with Greta Gerwig the entire time. She makes phenomenal like character stories.
She'll make you relate to a teenage girl.
Yeah, easily.
Whether you want to or not.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna happen. Which is like a great thing. So on top of being a Greta Gerwig movie, this Barbie movie is actually the second Barbie movie that was supposed to happen. The first one was supposed to star, what's her name? Amy Schumer, and it wasn't going to be directed by Greta Gerwig, and that project fell apart for good reason.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to see that movie.
No, me neither. Me neither. That Barbie movie would have been awful. Sorry, everybody who didn't work on that one, I guess.
Oh, can I say something real quick? So, just so you know, for the rest of this episode, I will be referring to Margot Robbie as Margot Barbie, okay? Because she was perfect.
That was a great note too. That we'll get to. That was the fourth wall break was absolutely warranted. But yeah, this so second Barbie movie that was being made. Mattel has been on board with it the entire time. So I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, it makes Mattel look bad." It didn't really at all. Yeah. It's just. Yeah.
If they made the first one, maybe.
If they had made the first one, it might have. Yeah, absolutely. So some other fun facts. It took $200 million to make, which is on par with like an average Marvel movie. And it international box office grossed $1 billion, which makes Greta Gerwig the first female director to have ever directed a movie that surpassed $1 billion. Which is a huge deal.
Applause, bro.
Yeah, we don't fuck around with that one. That one's that was a pretty big deal. Not gonna lie, that was a massive deal. Yeah, especially on a weekend that Oppenheimer opened, and everybody was anticipating Oppenheimer to like blow everything out of the water, quite literally.
Bro, do you think Christopher Nolan heard that Barbie was going to be releasing around the same time, and he was like, "Oh shoot, no. I can't believe I have to go up against Barbie." I really don't think so either, but turns out that was like the worst thing that could have happened to him in his movie was Barbie playing at the same time. I wonder, I seriously am curious as to like his thoughts on that and how he feels about it, because that's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, I would love to hear Christopher Nolan's thoughts on the Barbie movie in general. Just to be like, yeah, well, 2 movies came out that weekend and 1 movie was better. And it wasn't mine. It also ruined the experience, so I did the Barbenheimer double feature. Well, we did it over the course of the weekend, so we didn't do it in the same day. But we saw Barbie first, because that's the one that we both cared to go and see more, Sybil and I.
Not we.
Yeah, he still hasn't seen Oppenheimer. So we saw Barbie first, and it was phenomenal movie. And I was like, oh, that means Oppenheimer has to be really good because people are saying really good things about it. And then I saw Oppenheimer, and there was a moment where Sybil and I both looked at each other, and we were like, probably should have saw this first.
She just saw Barbie a second time.
Probably should have just saw Barbie a second time. Oppenheimer's still a great movie, absolutely. Christopher Nolan does not know how to write a female at all. He barely knows how to write people, in my opinion. But he makes phenomenal movies. But it's hard to get attached to any of his characters. And it still was the case for Oppenheimer, by the way. We're not talking about Oppenheimer, though. We're talking about the phenomenal masterpiece that is the Barbie movie. So yeah, those were my facts. Again, there's a lot of fun controversy that was coming out of it. Not for the fact that it was like a Barbie movie or was a movie about, well, part of it is it's a movie about women and women's struggles and men bad and all of this. And I have lots of thoughts about that. And I've also been validated and justified on my thoughts through Greta herself. And yeah, so I just want to see what you got out of it to see if you missed some subtleties here and there like other people, or if you're a subtext king like me.
Well, I wouldn't claim to be a subtext king, but what I will say is that this movie, there are certain things, like I said, criteria for me. I think everybody has a different criteria for what they would consider a good movie. For me, sometimes it's like a ding against a movie is if it takes me out and I'm thinking a lot outside of the movie, like, oh, that doesn't make sense or whatever. But I will say this movie, I mean, I think it's perfect for everybody because, like, whether you just want to go and just turn your brain off and then have a fun time, like, this is the movie for you, right? Like, you're going to be entertained. You're going to have fun. The music and the songs are funny and hilarious. The characters and the situations are great. If you like a little depth to your movies, which, like, generally speaking, for a general movie I do, this is definitely not a movie where I expected to have a lot of depth, but my goodness, it was very deep, and there was a lot of social commentary and stuff like that. So if you like those kind of things, movies for you. I think it just kind of hits a wide range of movie fans who would just love movies. Like you don't have to be a guy or a girl to go and enjoy this. Like I did, so I didn't feel weird at all. Because I went for early matinee and there was like 15 people in the theater and I was just sitting there by myself as this, middle-aged guy just watching a Barbie movie. But it's so cool because like there were older people in there was younger people, there was kids, and like I remember there was a little boy. As we were leaving, I heard him talking to his mom, and she was like, "Oh man, that was the best movie. It's my favorite movie." And I was like, "Wow, so." But I think we should. I mean, let's get to the deeper stuff when we get to it. But just starting off, it's just very very fun and light and kind of whimsical. You know what I mean? There's a lot of humor, man. Maybe you'll remember there was one part I think that really struck me. I think it involved Ken and they were driving off or something. But really, it's kind of Barbie is in Barbie land. Everything's all perfect and stuff. And then like as they're going through, you get introduced to all the Barbies, all the Kens, and it's a wide
and Alan,
Michael Cera, great, yeah, Midge, the pregnant Barbie, Alan was supposed to be Ken's friend at something. He didn't have a long shelf life, because he's a toy. But anyways, we get introduced to kind of their world and kind of how things are set up there. And then we get a disturbance in the force, I guess I would say. Margot Barbie, she starts to have an existential crisis, I guess. She's thinking about death, and everybody's like, what's going on here with you? And then the next day, like her world is just starting to fall apart and crumble. I mean, I don't think any of us can relate to that. You know what I mean? Just waking up one morning and just feeling like everything is off and nothing is right in the world. I think that's completely unrelatable. Just happens in the movies, never in real life. But yeah, like that's when we start to see that, like, hey, whatever is going on in the real world, our world, I guess I would call in this movie setting, their world is just as real. Yeah. But in our, it's the upside down. Yeah, exactly. In our more, the realistic, not Barbie world, obviously the things that happen in there as they relate to the Barbies can impact each other, right? So I don't know. Is there anything you want to say about the intro? Yeah. The things that happen.
So there was a lot of people who apparently didn't understand that the whole point of the first like 20 minutes of the movie, 30 minutes, is they were like, yeah, it just felt very forced. It felt very forced and like not funny. And I went, yeah, that's the point. It's supposed to feel like that because the whole Barbie world is forced and kind of not. It's very tongue-in-cheek humor. It's like, I'm Barbie, and I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to take a perfect shower, which has no water, and drink and have the perfect breakfast, which has no food or drinks, and go have the perfect day on the beach where everybody loves me, and nothing's wrong ever. Yeah. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah, we're introduced to Barbie, and she's a Barbie girl living in her Barbie world, and that's the whole point of the opening. Obviously, we need context for what is normal and then we get to see what's not normal.
Yeah, and then she starts talking about having thoughts of death, and everybody's like, Oh, and then we get introduced to Weird Barbie.
Yeah.
Which is also awesome idea. I didn't know this going. Well, I knew it going into the Barbie movie, but I didn't know like when the marketing was going out that there's apparently a lot of deep Barbie lore. That's not actual Barbie lore. It's like childhood lore, where all girls who played with Barbies had like the same experience, where they had like their favorite Barbies, and then they had what they called the sacrificial Barbie, and that was the Barbie that they kind of fucked up and gave to their friends that they didn't trust, so that they could play with the Barbie. And that's what Kate McKinnon did. She played the weird Barbie, the sacrificial Barbie. There's a lot of other ones that I learned about, but I can't remember them right now. But yeah, weird that they hit real on the nose with that one. But yeah, so Weird Barbie knows about the real life, the real reality, and says that Margot Barbie has to go and find the kid that is making her think of death. And Barbie, being Barbie, was like, no, I'll stay here.
I think that's kind of realistic, right? I mean, I don't have any kids, but I'm sure that in some situations, having kids sometimes can make you think of death and how difficult and horrible life is. No, I'm just kidding. Children are great. They're always the best. And just forget what I said. I wanted to mention too. A little bit more about the Kens, because that's a unique dynamic. Obviously, we have our main Ken, and then we have all the other Kens. Simu, I love Simu. He did great. Ryan Gosling is just too hot to handle. I mean, that's actually kind of insane how good looking and amazing he is. But he did a great job. I loved how he portrayed Ken. One thing that I thought was interesting too is like you really see how just Ken is just all about Barbie, but that's always been. I mean, that's what he was created. I mean, it's what he's created for. And real quick before I forget, I wanted to mention. I don't know if it's. I'm sure it is still on there. I think it was Netflix. There was there's a show called The Toys That Made Us, and they have a Barbie episode. You should check that out. It's very interesting, very cool. And it gives you a great history on just a lot of toys that you grew up with, or people our age grew up with, stuff like the histories. But
did you hear Ryan Gosling's interview on how he accepted the job for Barbie?
I did, but
so Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig basically got together at the very beginning of Barbie, and Greta was like, "I need to figure out who's gonna be Ken," and Margot was like, "It has to be Ryan Gosling. There's no other choice." And so she, for weeks, was just messaging Ryan, was like, "You need to do this. You need to do this movie. You need to do this." And Ryan wasn't like against being in the Barbie movie at all. He was just like, "I think I'm too old. I don't think that I have the energy for it. I don't think I'm attractive enough for it. So like, I don't know if I'd have the right energy or anything." And so Margot was basically like bribing him. It's like, "I'll buy you a gift every day on set, and it'll be there for you every morning." And eventually, he got a text from Greta that was like, "Hey, I really need to know if you're going to be in this or not. I'd really appreciate it if you did." And he walked outside and he saw a Ken doll that his daughter was playing with in the grass next to a squished lemon, like covered in dirt. And he took a picture of it and sent it to Greta and said, "I will be your Ken, for his story must be told." and that's how it happened.
It's so cool, and then you really get to see how, Ken, because Ken and his kind of arc, kind of becomes the catalyst. He kind of becomes somewhat of the antagonist. I was gonna say, I don't know if there's a better way to put that, but he kind of drives the plot. All right, take it away.
So, a large part of what I think people are misunderstanding in this movie is that, like most movies, this has an A story and a B story, right? The A story is the Barbie story, and the B story is the Ken story. And at some point, the Ken story inflicts the Barbie story, which is how most good stories happen, is that the B story takes over at some point and it does stuff to the A story. So Barbie's story,
What kind of stuff?
weird stuff. Mojo Dojo Casa Houses kind of stuff.
Yeah, whoa.
So,
Hey, this show's for kids too, so.
so Barbie's story is a journey of self-reflection, right? So it's very she starts out in the perfect world and gets the like feeling and understanding that there's something different about her life that isn't as fulfilling or as real as she thought it was. And then she goes and experiences the real world and goes, "Oh my God, this is awful."
Just like we all do.
Just like we all do, yeah. Waking up every morning, we got to go to work, got to go do shit. And Barbie has to find this kid and has to be like, "Look, things aren't awful and terrible. Look at me. It's perfect. You can be just like me." And learns that there's a lot of like weird stuff going on, that women aren't the center of the entire world, that they're not even fully in charge like they are in Barbie world. Little girls don't exactly feel like Barbie's empowering them anymore either, and that really throws her off. And at some point, she kind of turns onto their side and is like, actually, yeah, all of this stuff that I thought that I represented isn't real anymore. And that's
Also-
a problem.
Also very realistic. I mean, sometimes we live our lives thinking that this is how our life is going to go and this is what our purpose is. And then, things change. And then you realize, you know what? Maybe my life isn't meant to be that. So also just it's crazy with all the pink and all the songs and all the stuff, like how very grounded and realistic this is. So,
Yeah. And so it turns into more of a story of Barbie coming to the understanding that even though life isn't perfect, maybe it is for her. Which is a very that's a really good hard hitting message. And then you got like the complete opposite scale, and you got Ken, right? Ken goes with Barbie to the real world after being like, it's very easily understood at the beginning that Ken isn't an individual. He is quite literally just made to be an accessory to Barbie.
very unfulfilled.
Very unfulfilled. Yeah. I use the word accessory as a very like real. That's a good word for it. Keep that one in the back of your head as we keep going. And then he goes with Barbie to the real world to go help her because he needs to prove his worth. It's Barbie and Ken, right? Barbie and Ken. Always Barbie and Ken, not Ken. Sometimes just Barbie, but it's always Barbie and Ken.
I need a Ken and Alan.
Yeah, Ken and Alan.
Alan show.
That'd be good. That'd be really funny, actually.
The Ryan Gosling and Michael Cera.
Yeah,
I could see.
that'd be
I could
really
see
funny. Just a little spin-off.
Yeah.
So he goes to the real world with Barbie, with the idea to go and help her, right? To go, hey, well, whatever you need done, we'll get it done. And they show up, and almost immediately she understands. I think she says the word, "I feel unsafe," and he goes, "I feel the exact opposite.
Yeah.
This is awesome," and it's
Well, and then the random lady, she chimes in and she says, "Oh yeah, that's anxiety." Yeah, it is. True.
It is absolutely.
Just the overshadowing
And this is-
uneasiness. Yeah.
Yes, this is the part of the movie where I think a lot of people felt like it was like almost itching a little too close to the edge of being like preachy and not what's the word I'm looking for? It was pushing like a political like boundary in a movie instead of like sending a message. It was
Or
like
a
being
social-
preachy.
Yeah, like a social commentary.
Yeah, like being a social commentary instead of a story. But as long as you listen
watching,
for like
yeah.
5 minutes,
Yeah, keep watching.
it kind of makes its point for itself, right? So it's not intending to be preachy at all. It's quite literally just trying to go, hey, bad. No matter which way you put it, bad.
Yeah.
And so Barbie goes off on her adventure to go find this girl, and Ken goes off on his adventure to understand what patriarchy is.
Which it turns out that it's just like horses and big trucks.
Horses and big trucks. Yeah, horses, big trucks, and fur coats, apparently. Yeah. And so he learns about patriarchy while Barbie searches for this girl. He ends up going back to Barbie Land and preaches the gospel of patriarchy. And it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
It is.
But it's so funny.
Keep that in mind, how dumb that is. Because we'll talk about how dumb it is.
Yeah, well, it only gets worse. So Barbie finds the people she's looking for, realizes that it's not a little girl, it's a full-grown adult, which also makes a lot of sense, because the dreams of little girls eventually turn into dreams of adult women, and adult women have a lot more existential crises than young kids do. Hopefully,
Yeah.
it is 2023.
Protect our kids. They shouldn't be stressed out.
Absolutely, protect them kids. And so Barbie goes back to Barbie Land with the people to be like, what if I just show you how good this place is? Maybe it'll help lift your spirits or whatever. I don't know what she was planning, to be honest. I don't think she knew what she was planning. I think she was like, let's just go home. And so that's what they did. And when they get there, it's all different. Like, I don't know what took the 20 minutes for Ken to change everything, but he did it quick. Patriarchy moves fast, apparently, especially when you're well educated on it. And so everything's changed. They go back. All of the Barbie's dream houses are Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa houses. And all of the Barbies are subjugated to being accessories to the Kens. Again, another good piece of commentary there. The whole thing pretty much just leads to Barbie explaining the same message that she has learned through this whole journey to Ken, going, why does it have to be you and me? Why does it have to be me and you? Why can't we just both be individuals? Why can't Ken just be Ken? And why can't Barbie just be Barbie? Which is another awesome message. I think the exact line is you are more than just your girlfriend, or you're not your girlfriend, or something like that. Something like that. You're not just your girlfriend. Which is be a person.
Yeah, it's definitely like, don't make your identity someone else. Like, all right, I'm going to get a little preachy here. Like, seriously, like, if you're out there, no matter your age, because this is not just a young person thing, this is an everybody thing, you shouldn't make your life or your personality or your goals just about a person. Like, I think it's very important to understand who you are first, like really understand what you like, what you don't like, the things that, and just understand yourself. And I'm talking about like the deeper things about you, the things that hurt you and why they hurt, and trying to figure that stuff out. Because here's the thing, I think the greatest thing where you can demand the most like respect for yourself is if you know yourself. Like, the better you know yourself and the things you like, the things you don't like, the less pitfalls you might fall through in life. And I'm talking about, like, especially when it comes to relationships, because, oh my gosh, here's a little soapbox about dating and stuff like that, is that if you don't have a goal, like, you're just like putting yourself out there, and you're just like, I don't really know what I like and what I don't like. You got to figure out those things so that you can avoid some heartaches. Because I think the more you get into relationships willy-nilly, the more jaded you become, and the more. So I think it's very important for you to understand. Like, for me, there was some very pivotal moments in my life where I realized, oh, this is the type of girl that I like. And so that saved me a lot of trouble once I knew exactly the type that I was attracted to. and trying to figure out, just because I'm attracted to those things, maybe it's not the healthiest thing. I think, and just working through those things as well is extremely important. But having self-respect, figuring out what you like, what you want, because you don't want to move into something, and then you're just like, wow, like if I stay here, I can't do these other things that I want. Just do the things you want, and then maybe somebody along your journey will meet you on that path. Like, don't make your life about someone else, because it's clearly shown in the movie that Ken was just about Barbie, and his whole, like, early on it said, like, all I need, that his day was dependent on if she just looked and spoke to him, or just looked at him. And it's like, man, that's such a shallow, weak, way to live. You know what I'm saying? So, but there's a lot more that can be said, more time than we would use on a podcast that you could discuss these types of things. But I just wanted to say that I think it's extremely important to stop and take some focus on that. That's a very important thing that this movie is trying to show you, is that, like, don't make your life just about one person, especially at the expense of your own, especially at the expense of your own feelings and your own thoughts and your own desires and your own happiness. For anybody, whatever relationship that is, friendship, parent to child, child to parent, sibling, did I already say that? Dating relationship, any of those things, like, do not give away, like, you and your identity for someone else, especially at the detriment to yourself. So,
well said. You are enough. Yeah, and so once Ken learns that valuable life lesson for himself, Barbie is posed with the question of what is she going to do, and she
actually, before we get to that, I did want to say that there was something that, as I was watching, it struck me that I was like, ooh, this is very real. Was I think we start to see Ken, like, he's overcompensating because he felt unimportant. He felt not seen. He felt very just not important in the shadow of Barbie. Like one scene that was, like, really, like, hit a chord with me, and, like, and all the feelings in my heart, was when he was talking about, now it's guys' night every night. See, he was overcompensating, and he's like, okay, well, now it's just all guys' night. And then Barbie really got to be on the other side of that. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah, she was like, oh, this is unfair.
Yes. and guys, and this is the biggest, most important thing about just life in general, is just empathy and understanding someone else. Like, Barbie was not, Margot Barbie was not, her intention was not to hurt Ken at all. She was just living her Barbie life. You know what I mean?
Didn't know.
Yeah. And it was girls' night, and he felt marginalized. We don't even know if the Kens have a place to live in Barbie, because we don't see any of their homes at all.
I saw pictures where people were photoshopping Ryan Gosling just laying on the beach with all the other Kens at night.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But that's what I'm saying is I get that. Also, just as a man, like, I was thinking about this, dude, on the way over here. Like I would. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. It doesn't matter what you think. I'm gonna tell you that in this specific area, like, if you don't think that you don't think we live in a patriarchy, then you're wrong. We do. You do. It's just a fact. But it's also very important to understand. That, like, that it's a grass is greener on the other side of the fence when you talk about male to female problems. Like, it's real easy to look at the other side and say, well, you guys get all this and this and this, and you focus on all the things they get, but you fail to understand the things that they don't get, or the struggles that they do have, because it doesn't matter how privileged or however you want to put it, when you look on that other side, there's issues and problems that you don't see. You know what I mean? Like, the grass only looks greener until you're on the other side. Then you realize, wow, this is not that great either. And And that's one of those things that I thought was very hard hitting for me. Like, because I did understand, like, Ken, it's like, man, like not being seen and like that desire. And I think that's why, oh my gosh, I just don't want to get too into these types of things, but that's why people like Andrew Tate are so popular for men, because I think we can all relate to Ken and what he was feeling. But obviously the way that he handled things, way too far, not okay, like definitely wrong. And I think the movie does a good job of sharing that. But I loved so much that moment where then we also see Barbie, even though there was no ill intent behind the things that she did. She was just living her life, but she does understand, like, hey, the things that I do affect other people. And sometimes when somebody is doing the thing that I was doing and I'm on the receiving end, wow, it really isn't fun and it isn't great. And it does make me feel sad and unimportant. I think that's the thing. And one of the things that at first was starting to bother me is when all the Barbies got together and they were talking about how they were going to get the guys and they were going to hit them. And I was like, man, dude, hurting them just because, now they're feeling a type of way, and it's very wrong. It's a little bit understandable, but it's still very wrong. It's not okay for you to go and hurt them, because that's what they're doing. They're making them feel bad on the beach. They were like making them feel unimportant again and making them feel like crap. And like, it just, to me, I was like, man, I really hope that they don't leave it with that, because it's not, the way to handle it is not causing harm or hurt or even just any kind of hate towards the opposite sex or whatever, however it is that you identify. Like, hurling hate at someone who has something you don't is never the way to do it. And even if one ideology or gender or whatever the case may be is being jerky and patriarchal in a toxic way, like it's never a right to cause and inflict harm on purpose, which, that's the thing that I don't know. I might have to think about a little bit more about their approach, but I understand also the motivations behind it and stuff like that. But usually when someone, and this is a struggle for me, because what it takes is it's going to take somebody who cares, who's kind, sometimes kinder than me, because I struggle with justice. Like, if you do something bad to somebody, you deserve that bad thing to happen to you too. Like, I'm very much like, oh, interesting. You like to do that? You think that it's cool to be a jerk and hurt people and not care? Well, let's see how you feel when that happens to you. And then that's where I get up in their face. I'm like, oh yeah, do you like that? Did you enjoy that? Is that fun? Do you think that's okay for you to do? So I can be very much like that in a bad way, and something I need to work on. But it's, I can help you with your mindset on that part of the movie. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, and I was just like, man, let me just keep watching. And sure enough, they rebounded. I'll let Michael handle the rest of that. But I definitely did want to say that, like, that was something that was extremely important. And it struck me on an intellectual level, but also on an emotional level of like, hey, like, as men, we need to look after our women. They shouldn't be afraid and to walk down the street. Like, I think women should feel safe when they're around men that they don't know, not unsafe. And unfortunately, that's just not the real world. Like, when Barbie came in and she started to feel those things, that's just realistic, and that's not okay, and that's not right. But yeah, and at the same time, like, I think that we should also live in a world where men don't feel disenfranchised. They should feel respected, but they also should earn it, and they also should be able to be free and open about how they feel and stuff like that as well. Like, I don't think it's common for men to be able to just share their thoughts, share their feelings, share their emotions without feeling less like not as masculine because they do that. I don't think that should be the case either. I think it should be a masculine thing for a man to be able to say, hey, I was wrong. This is how I think. And like, and just to be able to work through that stuff. We don't have opportunities to work through that stuff. It's just, we just hear from unhealthy places like, this is what it means to be a man. Just like Ken, hey, it's about horses and and trucks and then we get these distorted ideas about what it means to be masculine or be a man. And that's the thing that we've just got to fight, because like, I think when we live along those guidelines that tell us like, this is what it means to be a man, and you start to see that you're not helping or improving the lives of the people around you, then maybe your idea of masculinity is wrong. You know what I mean? And then maybe it needs some adjustment like Ken. I think that it got to that good balance. But anyways, I'll let you continue. So after Barbie kind of understood when Ken was saying those things back to her, you know, I think that's where I kind of stole a mic from you. So sorry.
First off, yeah, so Barbie and the other Barbies planned to get control back from the Kens. That was quite literally a 1-for-1, like how in reality women have been fighting for their power back from the men. That's just how it is. They wanted to reflect that very openly, just to show that, like, yes, we live in a patriarchal society, but maybe the way that we're trying to seize power over everything is also not okay. That's what that was. The reason why you felt like that was bad is because it is, and that's what the point was. Is they were trying to make that, which is also why at the end Barbie's like, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to stay here. It's not. There's nothing for me here. There's no growth. There's no empathy. There's no kindness. There's no wiggle room for justice. I'm gonna blow hopefully everybody's mind here for a few minutes. I'm gonna seize entire control of this podcast and explain the intricate parts of the movie that I feel like a lot of people mistook as their own personal confirmation bias on their viewpoint of how life works and how story is told. After I watched the Barbie movie with Sybil, she and I talked about it, and we both came to a very clear understanding and both went, yeah, no, this is what the movie's about, right? She said, yeah. Okay. And it wasn't like we went back and forth for a little while trying to figure out what the meaning was. It was pretty clear, right? Yeah, we both walked out of the movie and we're like, yeah, no, this makes sense. And I think a lot of that had to do with the, like, previously having watched Greta Gerwig movies, and knowing how she likes to tell her stories, and how she writes stories in general. But a lot of people got out of the movie for the women. They got that patriarchy bad and makes everybody feel uncomfortable, and the world is scary, and no one should have to live like that. That's what they got out of the movie. And what the men got out of the movie was something more along the lines of women bring us down and make us feel less than ourselves, and that's not okay either. And that's why patriarchy exists. That's kind of what I've saw on both sides, and so both sides came out of the movie still kind of like fighting with each other. That's not the point. It's not the point at all. The point of the movie, actually, here's the mind-blowing part. You ready? There's no discussion about patriarchy at all. The Kens are just an allegory for women. They are not a representation of men at all. What Greta Gerwig does best is she makes movies about women for women. Gives the experience that a woman experiences in life. I mean, that's what Lady Bird is. That's what Little Women is. That's what what's another one that I'm missing? I'm just gonna cite those two for right now. She's very, very good at speaking about women. I mean, a common like thing that movies do in general is they talk about the things that they know the best. That's just good writing. Anything that you've probably experienced, you'd probably be able to tell somebody with good empathy at some point in time. And Greta Gerwig's never been a man. Her husband, Noah Baumbach, is actually a fantastic director in his own right and has helped a lot with all of her movies. She's helped him with a lot of his movies, and they make a damn good power couple for movies. That's a little bit of a tangent. But Greta Gerwig's never been a man. Just like men have a really hard time writing women, and by a really hard time, I mean like a really hard time, like we're really bad. Go watch Oppenheimer. Watch that scene with Florence Pugh, and you tell me that's what a woman would do, right? After watching Barbie, you go tell me that that's the right thing that would happen in that moment. It's not, not at all. It goes both ways, right? So somebody who has a hard time writing the opposite sex that they have been their entire lives doesn't have the same reference of experience for that person. What they have is they have the idea of what they have seen from that other person's perspective. Yeah. That this is on me backing up the idea that the Kens are not Kens. They're women. They're just women. They are what reality's women are in the Barbie world.
I mean, technically, they have the exact same genitals as the Barbies.
That is also true. They do have the exact same genitals as the Barbies. That
was a funny part of the movie as well.
So a phrase that feminists like to say, and it is sadly true in media, is that women are an accessory to men. Right? Back in the olden days, before women had the right to vote, before women's suffrage movement happened, women were just accessories to men.
That's not debatable.
It's really not debatable at all. It's an unfortunate fact of. It's like how slavery happened, right? Slavery happened, and people owned other people. That's not debatable. It's a thing that happened. Women's suffrage helped bring women to an equal. Yeah. Slavery is still, well. So is women being accessories to men. In fact, that's a light way of putting it in a lot of places. The Kens are an accessory to the Barbies. Right, that is quite literally a direct metaphor, right? And then the men get to see the flip side of things, a world where the men are in charge, right? Just like in the movie, we're seeing a world where the women are in charge, and they go, "Oh my God, this would be great." The men take patriarchy back to the world where women lead, and push them out, and then the women go, "No, we're going to take it back," right? It's a direct allegory for, hey, no matter what side this is, it doesn't work. What does work is people being people and trying to understand and trying to grow and not trying to push each other down just because we're not the same.
Yeah, it's about a balance of the scales. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's not just with everything, relationships, any kind of government you want to talk about, just anything. It's truly about balance. And I think what balance means is, again, I think balance means understanding, and it means empathy. And it means stepping outside of your own perspective and looking at the world and problems and situations, sometimes yourself, through somebody else's eyes and through somebody else's experiences, which this movie, again, it's so crazy how deep this movie is. Just to look at it, and there's so many different things that are so true that you're just like, some things are true and you kind of like chuckle at it, but some things are true and you're just kind of like cringe at it, or you should. Like, I mean, the whole thing that all the CEOs are men creating all these things for little girls, you know, it's another big thing.
But to that point, were they the bad guys? Right. Yeah. They're just there.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I won't mention any movies at this point, but there are other movies that have been very, I would say, anti-men, and I understand completely where those feelings come from, but it misses the mark, yes. And I think that there's a good balance of showing it. What I will mention, I think, was a movie that actually I felt like did a really great job, to be honest with you, was Wonder Woman, the first one. Yeah. Because you have this woman who's strong. So stronger than everybody else in the world, and yes, and she's working alongside men, and never at any time do I felt those. I don't think any thought crossed those men's mind, at least that you could see, that they felt inferior or unimportant. She, even though she was far greater than them, she did not treat them like lesser than herself, and I think that was great. And the fact that they all supported her and we're there to help her succeed and to follow her lead sometimes, like, to me, that shows a balance of like, this is what it should be, not just, hey, let me hate on how women do things or let me hate on how men do things. Like, it was great to show that, like, she, as a woman who had no place in the cabinet of all those old men, was speaking out for what was truly right and what needed to be done. And it was her voice that caused change. And so to me, that I felt like was a good balance. I also will say that this Barbie movie, was a great and perfect example of balance. And while exposing some of the negativity of toxic patriarchy and masculinity, there was still balance, and there wasn't any hating on it. It was just like, hey, let's acknowledge that these are issues. And then they painted it in such a way that we as an audience could see, okay, this is a problem. We could kind of get in some insight into a female perspective on it through the mother, who is the one who made Barbie all sad and make her think about death. But like, everything that she explained about what women have to deal with, it's insane. Like, I am glad that I'm a man, because in a lot of ways, life is easier for me. And that I don't have to feel this. I'm a big old dude. Like, I don't worry about walking down the street at night. I'm a lot heavier than most of the people that I would interact with. And if I had to fight a one-on-one fight, I don't feel necessarily threatened. I probably should, because my knees are bad. But I mean, in my mind, of course, we're all like Superman, right? But what I'm saying is, like, it highlighted the issues without saying man equals bad. It just said, hey, these things about our world that are tied to men are bad, and that needs to change. But also acknowledging, like, the women's side of saying, like, hey, we see you. And I think that's important, because I think it's true. Like, a lot of women don't feel seen. A lot of men don't feel seen or understood or cared for even. And so I feel like it just was chef's kiss on finding the balance. And that's what I think life and everything is about. It's just finding a proper balance.
I also think it's really really important on the note of that none of this was about men, none of the movie was about men, is that all of the people who are running around going, yeah, I do feel like that, I do identify with Ken. Guess what? You're identifying with women. You can understand some of their problems. It's almost like it's almost like problems are universal.
So let me say this real quick. And this was a lesson that I was able to learn several years back, almost a decade ago, which is a little late, to be honest with you, with my age, but I feel like it needs to be more important, is that and again, I know I've kind of been doing that a little bit. This is just the normal how we view things. But it's very important to understand that, like, that's a girl thing, that's a guy thing. Maybe it's just a human thing. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's just a part of being a human, and we all understand feelings. We all understand feelings of loneliness, disrespect, joy, happiness, sad, depression. Like, we all understand these things. They can, sometimes the way that we experience those things is very individualistic, but mostly the circumstances even around what makes you feel some of these things are very similar and shared by all. We can all relate to and understand that. We choose, I think, in a lot of ways, we choose not to acknowledge the similarities between us and other people, no matter what it is that they are different from us. I think that if we understand that we have more in common than we do different, then that's when we can relate to and start to care for other people, no matter what it is. Like you said, I thank you for saying it. That's what reminded me, is that it's not necessarily a guy thing or a girl thing. Like, this is a human thing. And, like, I think it's important to understand that, like, it's not about one being greater than the other. Again, it's about that balance where we're all equally important. We all equally deserve. We need each other. And it's about, I feel like I've said this, and maybe leave in the comments if you disagree. I've thought this, and I'm not quite sure if it's 100% accurate, but I'm sure somebody smarter than me could figure that out. But I've always thought that that if everybody is looking out for someone else, then everybody gets taken care of in the world. You know what I mean? If we're all looking out for somebody else too, then everybody gets taken care of. Because if everyone's just looking out for themselves, I feel like nobody gets taken care of, because we all need somebody else. We need that different perspective. I just cooked a meal for my buddy here. I didn't go hunt that animal and harvest those vegetables to cook it. Like, I didn't do it. I need freaking the grocery store, and whoever it is that raised the cow and who grew the vegetables, the onions and stuff like that, and the grains and the rice. Like, I am dependent on those people. Nobody in this world is fully independent, and I think that's. I don't in certain ways, like to a certain degree, yes. Like the idea of like, hey, understanding yourself first and like having respect for yourself first is important, but it shouldn't stay, it's just about me. I think that if everybody looks out for the person next to them, everybody in the world will be taken care of, because we all have something that either in here or in here that somebody else needs and could benefit from. And if we are helping other people, then everybody gets taken care of. If all we are about is ourselves, then somebody's missing out on something that we have to offer or that they have to offer us, and nobody gets taken care of. That's how I feel. I don't know if that's 100% correct, but that's just how I feel about life. But yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, it's a human thing. It's just a human thing.
All right, now that I took care of the men's problems, where are you going? Oh, she's coming in. Dog's coming in. Everybody, Millie. She left. See, I talked about how the men are wrong. Now I'm going to talk about how the women are wrong. Now, please just listen. Just listen a little bit, all right? Just listen a little bit. You agree with me. Anyways, the big thing that I kept on hearing from women on especially TikTok was that the Barbie movie gave them the affirmation that they needed to understand that, yes, men are bad, the patriarchy is bad, and life is horrible. And if that's the case, if that's the whole moral of the entire story, why does Barbie go back? Why does she choose to live a real normal person life in our reality rather than the one controlled by women? It's not because she likes being oppressed. That's definitely not it. That's definitely not the answer. I saw somebody say that online. That was a bad one. Very bad take. Very bad take. It's not because she's a stupid woman. Not that either. Absolutely not. It's because she found that a different place that challenges her thoughts and beliefs gave her a better opportunity to figure out who she is. Through adversity, we rise. Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of the whole point.
I mean, look, this movie is so good. It's just so good. So here's, I mean, what are we coming? We're coming up to the end of our time, aren't we? Like an hour. Yeah, we're coming up to the end of our time. So let me just say this, guys. I wish I had seen it more than once before this, just because there's so many good and funny things as well. Yeah. That I know we talked about a lot of the deeper themes, but that's because it's a deep movie. But it's also, like I said, it's just fun too. Like, it's just
$1 billion. $1 billion box office revenue.
Yeah, the numbers don't say everything, but it says something.
That's Endgame numbers, baby.
Yeah, bro. That's the first Wakanda had $1 billion, right? So I mean, you're in a very good company when you're talking about like movies that have made $1 billion. This is B. Yeah, with a B. B for Barbie. With a B. With the B. Yeah, it's reverse of the game. So but guys, it's just so much fun. Like, I would say that it's a good investment if you want to go and watch this movie. Like, don't get caught up too much in. I think for people like you and me, it's just kind of hard not to. We're just so deep. Like, we just think about the deeper stuff. If you're not, that's okay. Go and enjoy a great movie. Like, you don't have to spend all your time thinking about some of the deeper themes. Like, it's cool if you don't.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we're here for you guys. We're your full time movie fans. Are gonna break it down for you. We're gonna talk about some of these things, but dude, I just can't say enough. It's just fun. It's a it's a it's a well put together, well rounded, very well written and directed and produced movie. Like it's just good. Good movies are always gonna be good, and it doesn't matter necessarily like there's so many things that don't matter. A good movie is just gonna be a good movie, and this is a good movie. I would even say this is a great movie. Do you have anything else you want to add? Yeah. All right. Of course he does, because he's Michael.
Ryan Gosling for Best Actor.
There you go.
Sorry. For Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah. And Margot Barbie. I mean, he couldn't have cast a better person for that role. Margot Barbie was perfect. I mean, everything. All the musical numbers, all the funny jokes in here and there. It hit. It's kind of like for me. It's well balanced, and because it hits all the things. It hits the humor. It hits the fun, the whimsical. It hits the deepness, social commentary a little bit. It hits at the deeper issues, underlying issues in our current society. And even gives us a solution, I think, to be honest with you. Solutions are out there. We just got to pay attention. But overall, fantastic movie. I might have to go see it again because it's such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. This full-time movie fans, this has been the Barbie episode.
Greta Gerwig for Best Director, Barbie Movie for Best Picture.
Hey, you heard it here first. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We hope to see you on the next episode. We're not quite sure what that is yet. I don't think we're going to discuss it, maybe even after this. But, woo, yeah, Barbie, full-time movie fans. As always, we love you guys. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. Like and subscribe. We want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the Barbie movie? Did you love it? Do you agree that Margot Barbie is the best Barbie that's ever Barbied ever in the history of Barbie? Because I do. I think so. And like I said, I hope your day today is everything you dreamed it being and more. We'll see you next time. Hey, full-time movie fans, thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you had a good time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. We want to hang out and discuss the movie with you. So don't forget to do that below. Have a good one. I hope your day is everything you dreamed it'd be and more.